and gentlemen, we're tonight's entertainment.
Welcome into a special edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. Actually, it is a very special edition because this is our 200th episode of our show. Our show's evolved from starting way back in the pandemic, where The Dark Knight was actually our very first episode, recorded on Zoom. We didn't have mics. It was very choppy. We've learned a lot since then. We've had a lot of changing of the guard, and we've got some new faces in here, including my friend Ahmed. Ahmed, I am honored to talk about The Dark Knight with you for our 200th episode, and I'm excited about this big new change that we see. Tell us about the room you're sitting in right now.
So, this room is a room that my friend Robert Guzman of Capismo Communications has let us graciously use. So, Capismo Communications in the Houston area, but if you need telecommunications systems, if you need any kind of help with your telephone systems, give them a call. No pun intended. And if you're in the Houston area and you got a podcast and you need a studio, call Rob up. He got you. And yeah, this is a really special time to talk about The Dark Knight because this is the first time I've actually seen the movie from beginning to end, and to now do it with you guys for the 200th episode, it's an honor and a privilege.
Yeah. It is special because this is the 15th anniversary of that movie. Nolan did not give a fuck about selling toys to kids for this movie because there is really nothing for like kids under 10 years old to really appreciate here. This is an adult crime oriented movie, and it is still just probably the best superhero movie of all time. I know I go back and forth and I'm like, hey, Across the Spider-Verse, number one. But after watching this, what's back at number one for me is this movie.
It's definitely up there with Across the Spider-Verse in terms of sequels that have, been able to rival their prequels, if you will, because you have to kind of watch the first one, Batman Begins, to kind of really understand some of the underlying messages in The Dark Knight. But even as a standalone film, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, just the story is so grounded in a realistic world, and I really do love that, especially when you're playing with characters like the Joker and Batman and Harvey Dent. Really, at the end of the day, this movie is about crime, corruption, and finding a way out of that and finding a light at the end of the tunnel. The light at the end of this tunnel was supposed to be Harvey Dent, and this movie is essentially about his corruption and downfall. And I thought that Christopher Nolan and his brother, Jonah Nolan, did a great service to the fans and this movie for centering it around Aaron Eckhart and Harvey Dent.
Yeah, every character, and that's the weird part about it, is the whole movie it's supposed to be essentially that you've got Batman who has his morals, but he doesn't think he's good enough. So he's got someone like Harvey Dent who he feels is the only one with morals. And then comes the Joker who says, no, everyone has their limit. And we found out that Harvey Dent's limit was crossed. And with Batman, he still has his morals, but he got very close. And that's the part that really just kind of gets me. Like, in the end, it's a movie that, really just hones in on morals, and it should be taught in a philosophy class.
Yeah, it's very deep on a lot of different levels. There's like a lot of commentary on kind of how the Joker kind of sees society and how Batman sees it as well. So there's duality there, where the Joker wants to prove deep down that everybody is an ugly person that will make the ugly choices, while Batman is trying to prove that deep down there are good people in this world. And that type of pitting between good and evil, I thought, was just fantastic. And just like their conversation on the roof at the end of this movie, I thought was great. I loved all the supporting characters as well. I loved Michael Caine is still the best Alfred to me.
Well,
He's very good.
and let's also remember something else. Yes, this is a battle between good and evil, but when we talk about evil, the Joker is a completely different breed. And Michael Caine, who plays Alfred, is somebody that can see through this and warns Batman, saying, some people just want to see the world burn. And it's he pretty much tries to tell Batman without telling him, your morals you're going to probably have to bend the rules a little bit if you want to actually pursue justice. And that's kind of like, it's such an ugly kind of message to send, but sometimes it holds water that if you really want to be the best at something, you're going to have to push yourself. With this podcast, we've got to look into different resources. You've had to learn graphics to
Yes.
appeal to our viewers. I've had to read reviews and study to make sure I know what the hell it is I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And Variety magazine had one of the best reviews about The Dark Knight, and it was actually written by Jonathan Majors, who I won't spend too much time on given his controversy, but I will say that review is probably one of the best essays I've ever read. And he brings up kind of like the subtle message of here we go. When the Joker says that, it's like a prayer. It's like orchestrated, that you think what you think is going to happen is going to happen. The inevitable, that people are inherently evil. And then whenever they surprise you with that little faith of humanity, even if it's just a test group, it's still an amazing, social experiment to kind of see that there are some good people in the world. And that's because, sometimes people, whenever they have the ability to at least have someone's life in their hands, usually they realize, this is not what I didn't realize it was going to be like this. Even the Joker, whenever he says, do you know why I use knives? It's because you can really see, the person in their last moments. And in books I've read about gun trafficking, a lot of, killers say this, like, guns are too easy. Anybody can shoot a gun, but to use a knife to get that close and personal, it's insane. It's, in other words, it's a different type of psychotic.
Yeah, Heath was such a great actor, and it was a shame that he did pass away before this movie came out. He did win the Oscar for it, and he just brings something so like animalistic to this Joker, just so unnerving, and I really did love that. I loved how they pulled from the comics where the Joker, you don't really know his origin. He is not Jack Napier like he was in the 89 Batman. No one knows his real name, and to kind of have him just arrive here I thought was smart. And then you have him giving multiple backstories on how he got his scars, just makes it so much more scary because you can't believe anything that's coming out of this guy's mouth. So this Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, I say still the ultimate portrayal of this character. And Mark Hamill is great in the animated series, and so is Jack, but no one even comes close. They're not even the same stratosphere
No one
when
can
it
come
comes.
close. Jeff, nobody can come close. This is a role that, I mean, so I'm weird, okay? I looked up the script, like the actual script, and I read a little bit of it, and I skipped to a couple of parts. And the mannerisms, the build up let's talk about that scene with Maggie Gyllenhaal, who plays Rachel Dawes. Um, when they meet for the first time and he's holding the knife to her mouth and he's saying, do you want to know how I got these scars? The build up where he's mushing her face and the music is getting higher. It's like it really brings the viewer in to where, like, oh my God, what is going to happen to her? And you're drawn into it. And then, of course, whenever, she punches him and he's like, you're feisty. I like that. And Batman in the corner is just like, then you're going to love me. You can't teach that. That is something that comes from talent, raw talent, and being vulnerable in that space. And even the weird ticks that the Joker had, that was all improvised. That wasn't in the script. But these are just the things that Heath brought in with him that made him the perfect Joker. And the suaveness that Christian Bale brought with him is what made him the perfect Bruce Wayne and Batman. Not since Michael Keaton. I'm sorry to every other Cape Crusader that tried to take up the mantle, but it just hasn't worked. There's something about Christian Bale in his, you can forget that he played Patrick Bateman for a second, okay, and just uh, you can just believe him. Like, it's so believable. Even Michael, like every character, it's hard to pick a favorite character, but you're probably going to make me do that, aren't you? You
I am going to
cruel
make you do
son of
that
a bitch.
right now.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, now that you brought it up.
I think my favorite character, just for the sake of being different, would have to be Harvey Dent, just because I didn't realize what a significant role he had, where he had to be, you know, he wants to do good, but the world around him is so corrupt, and it is only a matter of time until he succumbs to that. But the fact that it took a psychopath killing the love of his life for him to turn against everybody. And this is somebody that in the freaking beginning of the movie, he's almost shot at, and all he does is punch him in the mouth. And he goes, "Your Honor, I'm not done. I'm still an attorney."
Yeah.
um, then of course Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, Michael Keaton, and Morgan Freeman like surprised the hell out of me with how good he is. Like, even if there is no Lucius Fox character, they are, I mean, it doesn't matter because Morgan Freeman needs to be in that movie. Even whenever that one dude is about to like out Batman, he's like, so let me get this straight. You're trying to out the guy who like beats people for a living?
And you're trying to blackmail this person.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cast is so star-studded in here. It is hard to pick. I think I am gonna, for the sake of argument's sake, make Michael Caine as Alfred my favorite character, because I feel he's the voice of reason throughout this entire movie, and he does make a lot of interesting choices, not only kind of mentoring Bruce and letting him know how to deal with a psychopath like the Joker, but there's the choice after Rachel does die, where Alfred decides to burn the letter that she wrote to Bruce saying that she chose Harvey Dent. It is a very complex choice that pays off in the next movie when Bane comes in and everything like that. But he is fantastic, and having someone of Michael Caine's caliber, I think, only made this movie stronger. I do love the Joker. He would be two than Harvey Dent. Christian Bale. Christian Bale is the best Bruce Wayne we've ever had. He really does play up the playboy aspect of Bruce Wayne very well in this movie, and he was almost like a James Bond-esque character this time around, because you have that mission to Shanghai when he goes and he gets Lau back, out of his building, and he has the wingsuit, and it's just such a great sequence. Rachel Dawes, Maggie Gyllenhaal is such a great character as well. This movie does something that a lot of movies haven't really even come close to, and that's killing off a main love interest. I know the Amazing Spider-Man 2 did it, but this was the first time that had ever happened, and it was shocking for sure.
Yeah. It shows you, how is a hero supposed to move on, go on, when the thing that helps him feel alive is no longer there. And, you know, it it is tough because we see how that works. Because in the one for Batman, even though he thinks that she chose him and she dies, I mean, he lost his parents. So this is just somebody else. It would make way more sense for him to fall off the wagon and kill the Joker when he had the chance. Um, he doesn't even technically, but he doesn't technically kill Harvey, but he does help him lead to his death.
There's a lot of collateral damage when it comes to Batman, I would say.
Yeah.
Uh, the ending. Let's talk about the ending. That's a good segue. It is very, very disturbing. You have Harvey Dent, who's the hero at the beginning of this movie, holding a gun to a family. And it's not the typical comic book ending where it's, Iron Man saving the world or the Avengers saving the world. This is a very contained situation where it's a face-off between three people who try to stop the corruption in Gotham, and I thought it worked perfectly.
Yeah. Because it's two out of the majority rules. Two of them are trying to convince the other person that there is still good in the world. And, Harvey is quick to remind him that no, it was your people that betrayed me. So why should I trust you? And Batman, you could have saved her. You didn't. So you're just as bad. And in that moment, it's really hard to kind of listen to reason. Um, that and still, at the end of it, Batman shows his true colors by saying, I did this. No, the people can't know, because that's the way society needs to work. In order for us to have a world peace, the community needs to have a mutual enemy.
That ending gave me chills, and it still gives me chills to this day. I saw it midnight release, I think the first night it did come out. This movie holds up so well. It's going to be probably a Hall of Fame, higher than a Hall of Fame for me. Where would you rank it, Ahmed?
Definitely the GOAT, because it is timeless. The fact that it came out in 2008 and it pushed so many boundaries for its time is also something merit worthy that cannot be said enough. Um, the technology that it used, you'll still be impressed by it in 15 years later.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see how anybody could hate this movie. Maybe the runtime a little bit, it was a little too long, but if you're a movie fan, you'll love it. If you're a superhero fan, you'll love it. If you like, cat and mouse dramas like that, yeah, this is the ultimate.
Yeah, and it's a testament to Christopher Nolan, who still makes great movies, has a new one, and Oppenheimer coming out in a few weeks, but shot this movie on IMAX, shot almost all of it practically, and old school filmmaking definitely was the way to go here. This movie holds up, best comic book movie of all time. Um, we'll see if anything ever tops it. We've gotten close with the Spider-Verse movies, I will say that, and that's pretty much the only ones threatening it at this point.
I mean, this does bring into question what DC will do for the future of its films. Because let's just address the elephant in the room. DC has not made a good movie in a long time,
Yes.
and I think it's time for people to kind of just really go back to square one and learn from the master, which is Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan set a new precedent. If we follow it with the grittiness, there was something that my brother-in-law Raymond really liked about the Batman with Robert Pattinson, saying that it really showed him as a detective.
Yeah.
And but with the Dark Knight, you do see his detective skills. And so, but it doesn't focus on that too much. And just, you see the character build up, you see everybody kind of giving it their all. That's why I think this movie just will be the GOAT. I mean, you've got Christian Bale, that breathes the Playboy life. I mean, he looked like that Lamborghini belonged to him in that one.
Yes.
And Heath Ledger, of course, Joaquin Phoenix tried his best to bring the Joker to life and make us sympathize with him, but you still see Joaquin Phoenix. And we talked about this in our 1989 episode about Batman. If you guys haven't watched it, watch it, because that movie also still holds up. But with Heath Ledger's Joker, you forget who the hell Heath Ledger is.
Yeah, you can't tell. It's like, is this the same guy from A Knight's Tale? You
That's the
can't
same
tell.
guy, Brokeback Mountain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy the range that he has. The Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, I'm not a fan of. I will say this about the Batman with Robert Pattinson. I do think that it was a stronger start to a potential trilogy than Batman Begins was. I will say that. Both are fantastic movies, but I do think that that franchise is off to a great and very interesting start.
Yeah, if we can just, not make Batman look emo, just
Okay.
like get over it.
I liked how they did it, because if you notice, every Batman actor of all time has black face paint under their eyes, and every time they take their mask off, it's gone.
Mhm.
So I like that they left it in for this one. But
You know, I wanted to bring this one last thing up. You said that Christian Bale as Bruce Wayne kind of has like a James Bond effect. I want to throw a curveball at you.
what's that?
And I'm not good at sports, so if I said this wrong, then please correct me. But there was rumors about Idris Elba playing James Bond. Do you think Idris Elba could play Batman?
Yes, I think Idris Elba could play like the Dark Knight Returns version of Batman. The Dark Knight Returns in the comics. It's an older Batman where it's like post-apocalyptic. I and he is coming out of retirement. I think Idris Elba would make a fantastic Batman for a movie like that.
And for any of you naysayers out there or racists that will be like, Batman can't be black, Kevin Michael Richardson. That's all I'll say. Kevin Michael Richardson.
And
The
Winston
Batman.
Duke. Winston Duke.
Winston Duke. We forgot about Winston Duke. Spotify, sponsor us. Winston Duke, sponsor us.
Batman
Oh,
Unburied is very, very good, and one of my favorite Batman portrayals in this century. So listen to that.
I listened to that entire series from beginning to end. And then whenever Winston Duke delivers the line, I'm Batman, I got chills. This is audio, Jeff. It's
Yes.
just audio. And I got chills. I'm in my car going, oh my God. And I almost crashed because it was that amazing.
Yeah. Winston Duke, Batman, HBO Max limited series, make it happen. That'll be the last thing I say.
Hell, we can even Winston Duke's young, but we can age him up a little bit. He's tall, he's big dude. You could put some gray hairs on him if Idris Elba doesn't want to do it. Let him play the Dark Knight Returns.
We are taking money, Warner Brothers. There's some ideas thrown your way, but Ahmed, I do want to pivot. 200 episodes is pretty damn really great accomplishment for us. Me and Ryan, shout out to Ryan. We started the podcast middle of the pandemic. We figured it out as we went, and we built something that I think that we're very, very proud of. Our family has only grown with Ahmed and Eric and Gerald. Gerald is the co-founder of this whole thing with me. Box Office QBs wouldn't even exist without Gerald, because we started this as a blog like in 2018 where we wrote like 300 word stories on like Green Lantern and stuff, and then it's evolved into this. But I can't thank the viewers enough for their support. We're only going to try to keep pushing new and cool things for you. So thanks for liking and subscribing. Shout out to Ahmed, Gerald, Eric, and Ryan. This is Box Office QBs. We will be back with a lot of awesome stuff coming up in the future. Ahmed, anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I want to echo everything you said. I mean, it's been like roughly a year that I've been with you guys. And when I got the invite, to come on as a contributor for the review board, that was awesome because it was like, cool, they're gonna let me ramble. And then doing the Yellow Jackets episode with Gerald, and then evolving from that. And shout out to Ryan for allowing me to take his place. And thanks to you, Eric and Gerald, for kind of just making the transition so smooth, welcoming me in with open arms. I'm forever indebted to you guys. And even though we're cities apart, like, we text all the time, we check in with each other. So whenever I got to meet, Eric for the first time in Dallas, it was like seeing an old friend. And whenever you're able to come down to Houston, or if I come to New Mexico, I know it's going to be the exact same thing.
Yep. And we got a nice studio where we can meet down there as well now. So one last shout out for them, and we'll get out of here.
Thank you again to Robert Guzman and the folks at Capismo Communications. They are based here in Houston. If you need any telecommunications needs, or if you're a podcaster in Houston, come on down.
All right. Well, this has been another edition of Box Office Quarterbacks. We'll be back very soon with some new episodes. Catch up anytime on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I am Jeff. That's my friend Ahmed. We'll talk to you guys very, very soon.